In today's society, a lot of people order from online, which leads them worried about having their ID stolen. Well, what they don't realize is there's many more ways for them to have their credit ruined, not just their identity stolen. It's called bank fraud. Bank fraud is involved when using fraudulent means to obtain money, assets, or other valuables that are held by a bank. This will include identity theft, check fraud, loan fraud, wire fraud, fraudulent institutions, and credit card fraud. Identity theft is when somebody takes your personal information, social security number, your address, anything, and can duplicate those onto applications to get home loans, new cars. They can get credit cards, any kind of loan. Loan fraud is when they're not the person, or they use things like if it was a worker, they use their experience to obtain that loan without having the actual person there. So then that becomes a fraud. Fraudulent institutions is people that say that they're this bank, and in reality they're nothing. They're just there to collect the money and then they leave. There's two different kinds of bank fraud and two different categories on who can commit these crimes. There's the insider bank fraud, and then there's outsider bank fraud. Insider bank fraud is when somebody who works within the institution or company takes the money and wires it, whether it's to their own personal account or to an offshore bank account. An outsider bank fraud is when somebody from the outside comes in and does the fraud themselves. And this can also work where both of the parties work together, and somebody from the inside works with somebody from the outside and commits the crime. It is a federal offense because banks are protected by the federal government. It can include up to $1 million fine or 30 years in prison, or both, but no more than that. This has impacted society tremendously because people are losing their credits, their own money, and it takes them years to rebuild all their credit back and replenish the funds that they had to pay to hire the certain group of people to investigate the crime. One good way to keep track of all this is to monitor your credit score, but some people fail to continuously do this, and then that's when they get wrapped up into it. It's good for like every month you go in and check your credit score and keep track of it and how many inquiries are on there, as well as any loans that have been added or anything like that. Every time a bank sends out the loan request, it runs your background or your credit score. And if you use the right credit people, then they will tell you or notify you right away as soon as an inquiry is added. The one I choose to use is called Credit Karma. It seems to work amazing, and it's very up to date. I've literally went and applied for a loan, and the next day it's on there. So it happens within 24 hours, and it doesn't take very long at all. Another way to kind of secure yourself is to purchase maybe a wallet or a purse that has a protector in it that will ensure that anybody who has the technology to walk by you and read your card and obtain that information can't be done. Mine, as you can see, has a little lock. That means I'm protected. So anybody who walks by me cannot use their technology and gain the information from my cards. And it looks just like a normal wallet, so nobody else can tell what it is. If bank fraud does happen, you have to get yourself a team. Your team will consist of forensics, accountant, legal counsel, information technology, computer investigator, or forensics, company security personnel. Some companies have them, some don't, but if they are there, they're useful. Company management. Anybody in upper management usually knows everything involved with the ins and outs of the company, whether it's financial or if it's production, but they usually have an idea of the flow of the money and can help backtrack everything. Another person that you would like, or section that you would like on your team, is the human resources of the department. If something goes wrong, your human resources usually has a knowledge of all members of the team and has gained a little level of confidence with them to be able to discuss different things about their life. So if somebody seems off, they're going to notice that. During the investigation, you're going to have to do a background investigation. You're going to have to do interviews, confident sources. Everybody has to be... You can't use somebody who is not for sure about what's being done. If they don't have an idea, then they're not useful. You have to have physical and electronic evidence and analysis of all financial institution documents. From all of the findings, you will create your report. In your report, you'll have your summary of what you found, the costs, the recovery for the costs, procedures, how you did everything from start to finish, and you will also have your final disposition, and you will also make sure that you, upon investigating, if you collect any computers, you do a duplicate of the hard drive, so that way you don't destroy the actual evidence and alter at all. You have to remember to use chain of custody. Chain of custody is number one. If that is broken, then you will probably lose the case entirely in court due to not keeping the proper chain of command. When controlling or when having the evidence, you need to have it in a controlled environment, not too hot, not too cold, no moisture. If you are in an area where it's a little bit dry on the outside, you may obtain static electricity built up in your body. And if you go to touch like a computer or something, you can deliver a charge which can also ruin a computer. So you're probably going to want a grounding device outside of the room so you can touch and release any static built up in your body, so that way you're not ruining any evidence that way either. When cybercrime started, it was pretty much somebody had to go to the bank or be within the bank in order to commit the crime. It slowly evolved to being able to use over the phone, and then they were able to start using computers as computers became bigger and easier to obtain than what they used to be. Now that we have tablets, iPads, we have phones, there's now watches out there that can obtain all this information. So we have to remember that it's growing and it's continuously growing. It's not slowing down at all. And as technology companies continue to battle to see who can be the best and come out with the best technology, it's always going to be there. And bank fraud is a never-ending battle. There's no way to perfectly make it so that way it never happens. The only way to keep yourself secure is to take the steps and watch your credit score, buy a wallet like I have, or you can even not have credit cards, but even not having credit cards or bank accounts does not guarantee that you are safe. It can still happen.